This is unfortunate. A broadcast journalist working with Arise News by the name of Somtochukwu Maduagwu has tragically lost her life after an armed robbery attack in her residence in Katampe, Abuja. This happened on the 29th of September 2025. It's unclear the time. It could have been in the late hours of the time or maybe early hours. And so far, this is what we know as to how Somtochukwu lost her life. From what is going around, the details are not very clear. People are saying she was shot. Some people assumed she was dragging with the armed robbers. Some said that she was stabbed. However, we have come to learn now from a post that she may have jumped and unfortunately landed to what would cause her death. It is not so clear. It could have been that she was pushed, but the words going around is that she fell from the third floor due to maybe she was trying to avoid the armed robbers, maybe she was trying to run from them, and this could have been her fear kicking in or her flight response getting the best of her. But there's something about this information that doesn't sit well with me and a lot of people. The witnesses who are giving their narrative suggest that when the armed robbers came into the compound, they could have been so much in number and they were just attacking from floors to floor. But by the time they would get to her floor, she had heard about it and most likely was trying to find the best way out because she wouldn't be able to take the staircase down, knowing that the armed robbers are climbing up through that staircase. So her best option would be to jump. And unfortunately, she did not land well, or she did not think it through, or she just thought the option or whatever would happen to her jumping would be better than whatever she might face from the armed robbers. She could have been stabbed, shot, forcefully sexually assaulted, and I guess she weighed her options and thought jumping was a better option, and unfortunately, it wasn't. Please put in mind that the information could change. This is what we are hearing now. This is what is being said according to what they said. Our cousin said this. So I don't want people coming up and be like, oh, confirm first, go and do your investigation. Right now, this is the narrative that is going. If it changes, we would update you. So calm down with it. You people are always in a rush to tell this is what is being said. But in addition to what was said to this, they mentioned that when she landed and when she fell to the ground, they waited for police to come. The police eventually came, and when the police got to the scene, they pleaded with the police to take her to the hospital. But the police claimed that they did not have fuel. Now, this claim is where I have a problem. Now, I can understand that at the time she jumps and lands to the ground, she would have sustained injuries that would maybe limit her from doing anything else. She could have probably fell unconscious there. That does not stop the armed robbery from going on. More people will be worried about their self, their safety, their homes, and everybody will be locked inside. So it could most likely be that at the time that people literally saw her outside was when the armed robbers had all gone and the police had come. However, in that moment, suggesting to the police to take her to the hospital is where I feel like her neighbors or people around there may have failed. I'm sorry to say, if you lived in her compound and you were relying on the police to take her to the hospital, then I don't know, it's not a society that I want to live in. I would have assumed that somebody could have called an Uber, somebody could have booked a ride, somebody definitely would have a car in that compound and do it and take her to the hospital rather than suggest and wait for the police to do it. And we know the police are not the most reliable people out there. I'm sure they came right after the robbers had gone, like you see in the movies. So why wait for the police to do it when I feel like somebody in the compound, somebody who is a friend, a neighbor could have stepped up and rushed her to the hospital? Well, somehow it was said she was eventually rushed to the hospital, and that was where she was pronounced dead on arrival. If she had a fighting chance from the moment she lands, tragically, then that chance was taken with every single minute that was delayed in rushing her to the hospital. Another aspect of this conversation that is being had is where people are talking about the insecurities in Abuja. But before we come there, I want to address some things I've also seen when people are like, oh, she's a journalist. It's the politicians. They're trying to silence her. Those narrative is stale. I'm sorry to say, but bless her heart, bless her soul. She is well loved. She was a beauty pageant, a pageant queen. She's not that journalist that I think politicians wants to go and silence. I don't think she's going around trying to find dirt on who this politician is doing what. So that narrative of, oh, she was targeted and assassinated is not true. Armed robbers did come to their compound and attacked people. Abuja residents have countered it and said that it's Katampe extension in Abuja that is very secured. The ordinary Katampe without the extension is where most likely these kinds of armed robberies could happen. So let's get that out of the way, because that is the mathematics people are trying to play now. Oh, Katampe extension is very secured, and if that happened, then she was targeted and she was assassinated. No. When we do that kind of statement, it makes people not worry about their own safety. Please, this could be anybody. You all living in Abuja, living in this neighborhood, protect yourself. Find a way to be safe. They were not targeting her. This is an armed robbery. And this also reminded me of a story that we did not cover. But I got the story that happened of a young man in Abuja still, who was on his way back from work, not knowing that his compound was being robbed by multiple thugs of robbers who had weapons and cutlasses. While in his compound, everyone there were trying to fight for their lives. A group of thugs, about 20 of them according to the statement, had pretty much entered their compound, banging doors, trying to get in, and they were texting this young man on the phone, "Bro, please don't come home. Robbers are in the house." But the said guy did not read those texts. He was most likely in the vehicle driving home. So he would not want to read the text driving home, and these people could not call on the phone because everybody is trying to stay silent in their house to avoid the robbers. They sent this guy multiple voice notes and multiple texts. However, when he got to his compound, he was attacked by those robbers, and he was the only one killed. He was beaten and macheted brutally, and this happened in Abuja. The same style. That is how he lost his life. So, from what I'm seeing, the robbery rate in Abuja is on a high, and they're not doing it in twos or threes that like we used to see back in the day. They're not coming with masks. They're coming in like thugs. They're coming in numbers. People will storm into your compound, and it's over 15, 20 young men with knives, machetes, slamming into doors, trying to break into houses, seeing whose house they would enter, see who they would catch. And right out of my imagination, given what we have, that Somto jumped, I could also sense that she was avoiding, because she knew that if she's on the third floor, the armed robbers are climbing all the way up. They must have robbed the ground floor, they must have robbed the first floor, so the second floor would have been robbed, and half floor, the third floor, was what was coming next. And if she had been privy to that information, I can imagine her trying to get away from it. And taking the stairs was not an option. If there was an elevator, that wouldn't even be an option too. Ordinarily, even myself, if I knew that these robbers could break into my house, I would jump too. Basically, I would jump, because I don't know what could happen. Her being a woman self is even worse. If she lived alone, 10 times worse, because only God knows what they could have done to her. So I can imagine her making that calculated risk. Unfortunately, she wasn't responded to in time. They didn't rush her to the hospital in time, and thus we lost her.